You know you're listening to It Came From the Radio, or maybe you don't, but now you do now. You're with Dr. Feldy, Jennifer Lee Feldman. I'm here with Brandon Ransbottom. He's the writer and executive producer of a feature film titled Brooker. Welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So let's get right into it. Could you briefly just tell the audience what your movie Brooker is all about and why you made it?
We've been telling everybody the easiest way to understand it is it's Indiana Jones in Florida. So
Wow.
it's a modern day movie, set in modern times, but that's the vibe. There's an explorer that finds a supernatural item, and a lot of stuff happens to him throughout the film dealing with said relic. Lots of villains come into play. It's a lot about big good and evil fighting each other.
Hmm.
It's kind of a throwback to a lot of 80s and 90s films.
All right, I'm going to skip my next question. Good and evil. Do you believe that there's good and evil or demons and angels in the world?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, I think that what I would say is that I definitely believe there's more than what we can see at play.
Okay.
I think sometimes
Mhm.
it's hard to pin down exactly what those things are, and maybe my understanding of something might be your understanding, but semantics
Mhm.
get in the way. So,
Mhm.
I think what I found the common ground that I can find with a lot of people is, and Brooker, the main character, really has this feeling too in the film is it feels like they're like he's looking for purpose. He's looking for something that will bring him fulfillment. And I feel like a lot of us are on that journey. Maybe we find it, maybe we don't, maybe we're still looking. But that's a lot of the thematic elements that are in the film.
All right. So moving on, you created your own cave set. As far as I know, there might be maybe I know 10 people who made their own caves. It's just you and producer Marcus Slaby, who showed me photos of this cool cave set he must have made like 10 years ago. And he does a really cool lot of cool films. He worked on Terrifier. So your cave, how did you make a cave? How many people did it take? What type of materials, monetary, blood, sweat, and tears? And if you don't want to tell us, I'm asking for everything because you might want not want to tell us because then everyone's gonna have a cave, you know?
Sure. Well, I have a secret ingredient, and that's actually my brother, Kyle Ransbottom, and he used to work at Universal Creative. So he would work in the theme parks down in Orlando, and so he took
Hmm.
the skill set and brought it to the film, and was able to replicate a lot of things that he's done for, Harry Potter and different rides that he worked on. And
Oh.
frankly, it was a lot of it was made out of styrofoam, which was crazy because from far
Mhm.
away he was just able to texture it and paint it so that it really had this great texture. But if you walked up to it, you could just push it right over. So there was a lot of, and he made a lot of it modular, so we could move it all around the room that we were in and make it, if you're filming from this direction, you would move some pillars over here, but if you flipped around, you could move those same pillars behind the other character, and it made it we could basically only build three walls, and we could move those walls in any configuration that we wanted to make the room as big or as small as we wanted.
Yeah, that's like some people I've met, and I'm sure you've met people like this too, where they look maybe big, tough, and strong or powerful, but you really get close and you see there's really nothing there. You just knock them right over.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that
all
was our
right,
set.
yeah, that's just that, no insult to that. All right, so your film Brooker, it falls into the ultra low budget category. Could you just please explain what this means to many of our non-film listeners?
Sure. There's a little bit of wiggle room in that, but we, quantify that as anything under $500,000. Our film was definitely under that. It was under $300,000. Um,
Hmm.
but we were able to bring a lot of resources together. A lot of people gave of their time freely. It's a lot of people passionate about making film and really making art. I don't necessarily consider what I do art because I'm a critic of myself, but I can't deny that I saw so many people bringing their expertise and their artwork to the film, and I was just blown away. Every crew member, every actor, it was an amazing experience.
I think what you're doing is art. I think just building a cave is art. My mom came over right before the show. I was like, what, 2 minutes late? as usual. I'll work on that. But she's making these pumpkins, and I said, "Why don't you make it a glam pumpkin?" She has this cool material and making a silver stem, but you made a cape, so that's art. All right. Anyway, it's none of my business. Now, what are some of the benefits and downsides to shooting ultra low budget film?
Yeah, I would say that being able to be very nimble was definitely to our advantage because we could roll up to a location and, talk to someone, make sure it was cool if we filmed, and we could knock out some interesting shots without, maybe, pre-planning in a way that you would if you had to have a crew of like 40 people or something like that. Usually our crew was
Mhm.
20 or under, and so we could be very nimble. So that I think that was to our advantage. The disadvantages that we found, honestly, it has a lot to do with scope and scale. Like our cave, for example, was great, but we actually ended up having to fly to Kentucky with the main actor. So a very small group of us, just three of us, fly up to Kentucky to film exterior shots for the cave just to kind of give it that scope because there was no
Wow.
way that we could build anything that would accomplish that. And so when we put it in the editing room, we thought we've spent all this time and energy and money to make this cool set, but if there's no lead into it, it just feels empty. So that was
True.
definitely a drawback to, not having access to a lot of resources.
True, true. It's just like the time where we shot inside my house nonstop, and then we wanted to get exterior shots, and I had to take my Halloween decorations, which I keep Halloween and Christmas decorations up every time of year, off the front door so we can get the exterior shot. Just like that, same thing. No, not at all. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. But you gotta get those exterior shots. Yeah, you gotta have that establishing.
Yeah.
All right. So many people out there have discovered you can make money rather than lose money when you're making ultra low budget films. And, according to you, it's 500,000. According to, some other people, 10,000, 20,000. There's some filmmakers I know, I'm not going to mention them, but I'm dying to know if they spend any more than like 2,000 or maybe,
Sure.
I don't know. So, could you explain some processes that you've employed to stay in this ultra low budget category?
Sure, sure. And believe me, I have done things the number of times that I've done things for free and honestly, I think
Mhm.
that is a lot of how we were able to accomplish what we did because, I've been doing this for over a decade as, as a business, video production and whatnot, and that's not necessarily film, but it is you meet people all the way along, right? And everybody wants to do something cool, something narrative, something that stretches their skill sets and what I threw to them with Brooker, I was like, well, the rubber meets the road. Do you really want to do it? I can pay you a little bit every day that
Mhm.
you're here, but I can't pay you a lot. And you have to make that decision. Is that something that you really want to do? It's easy to
Mhm.
say it, but then when you're giving up actual work, a lot of these ladies and gentlemen that were working on the film, are commercial professionals, and so they can make a
Mhm.
lot of money in one day working on a set. You're making peanuts if you're working on Brooker. But a
Mhm.
lot of
Mhm.
people made that sacrifice. And I think that's how you accomplish what I've told everyone is just, I put off for a long time kind of, making a film, like putting, shoes on in a sense and just like running the race. And I'm really trying to avoid stalling again. From now on, I'm
Mhm.
really working on another feature. We already shot another short since we wrapped on this. That's my advice is like, you can't be too precious about it. You just gotta, like, if you have enough resources to do some version of what you want to do, I think that's better than waiting for the stars to align because I don't know that that's
Yeah,
happened.
yeah, definitely. I have one script that it's not written for me. It's happened before, but I'm a major part of it. I love the script. And this friend of mine said, "Oh, I need 200,000. I don't think I'm going to get 200,000." So part of it, he's like, "I need these skin suits." So I said, "I do special effects makeup. All right, just take out your $20,000 makeup person. I'll do it for less." But he trashed the whole idea because he doesn't think he can get 200,000. So actually, I'll just ask you, any tips for this guy? He knows he's been around, but
Right.
I don't know, maybe you have some ideas.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think what you just said is that's a great first step, right? Is like looking at your resources, and that might be your
Hmm.
friends, your colleagues, and really just people in the community. I mean, the number of people that, especially for locations, that we were
Mm-hmm.
able to procure just by trade and talking to them and asking nicely,
Mm-hmm.
places that, yes, that they might be a venue, they might have prices listed, but going in and explaining what we were trying to do and getting them excited about the project.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, what you or me or anyone may be doing is not everybody's cup of tea, but if you find your people, if you find your champions,
Right.
and I think, including people in the process, like, invite them to be there, invite them
Mm-hmm.
to, maybe they have something to offer. I think that's a really good way and that to wrap up my statement on this, I would say, you know, when I started, I wrote the script and I was like, I'm going to write it and direct it and produce it. I'm going to do
Mm-hmm.
everything. And I just got to a point and I was like, there's no way. I can't do this. I'm keeping this from happening by being too precious about it. So I brought in a director, I brought in a DP, I brought in a producer, and
Ah.
that way, yes, we all, it split a lot of the resources financially, right? Because everybody's getting a smaller and smaller piece of the pie, so to speak. But also, like, I guess if you're doing this, you're not trying to get any pie, right? You're just trying to, like, you want to make a movie, and that was
Right.
what
Right.
everybody on the set wanted to do, and so that was and we accomplished it, and that's the story at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah, no, I work in commercial. I'm working on production for a super big restaurant chain. I'm not gonna even say what it rhymes with, but it's like major. I'm doing that for money, okay?
Right.
I know I'll enjoy because I like the people I'm working with, so that's great. But there's some things you do for money, and then there's like some things that are just like so interesting. I really want to do, and it's like okay, the money is not as important. It's the experience or it's whatever. All right, so we're
Right.
gonna move on completely.
Mhm.
Now, Brandon Ransbottom works in the entertainment field, which now largely exists on social media. And I listen to podcasts all the time, comedian podcasts. They talk about the business a lot and how Hollywood's dead. It's not entirely dead, but social media kind of rules the world nowadays. And as he states, I don't participate in other outlets like social media. So, number one, many of my favorite people who I find the most attractive and most admirable, I have Invisalign. And so I thought it'd be a challenge to do this interview with Invisalign and stumble over my words. I do this all the time now. It's a little
Nice.
game I play. So the people I find most attractive generally don't use social media. You can't find them on social media. You're gonna find nothing. They're gonna seem like serial killers. Those are my some of my favorite people in the world who I spend the most time with. Okay. And then there's some social media whores that I'm also friends with, but whatever. So number two, I know many who've made hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some of them, some just thousands, some hundreds of thousands by using social media to push construction businesses, comedy careers, stand up, impersonation, sketch comedy, uh, slightly pornographic careers, social work, psychic businesses. So, Brandon, you're here. How's the experience of creating media while not participating in social media? Like, what is that like? And what are some of the benefits and downsides to opting out?
Sure. So, I made a conscious decision a few years ago to just basically back off of most social media personally. I
Mhm.
have a LinkedIn. I don't really use it much, but it has been useful a few times just for messaging and things. I made a decision really for my own mental health. I just found that for me personally, social media wasn't something that was bringing me, it certainly wasn't bringing me any happiness, and I could see that it was to my detriment. Um,
Ah,
I think you're right that and we face this with the movie all the time. Just for a short amount of time, I was managing the social media account for the film, and I could
mhm,
just see immediately like there was this tension of wanting to see like, oh, I put something up. How many people liked it? Is it getting any
mhm.
traction? Why didn't this person respond yet? All these things. I mean, I'm not saying anything that nobody else experiences all the time if you're on social media, but it kind of came flooding back to me after taking a break for a number of years, and I was like, oh, you're right. This is what isn't beneficial to me. And honestly, as a creative, I think what I find is that it makes me much less creative. I know some people get on
Oh,
and they get inspired by looking at what other people are doing. Me personally, I had the opposite effects. I have like imposter syndrome very strongly,
yeah.
and so if I see what other people are doing, I automatically think, well, my stuff's not that good. I'm not doing that. Right. And so for me, just on a creative level, I just had to stop it. And, I have a lot of people that are working on the movie, on the back end now that are like, well, we've got to do more to kind of push it out there for people. And that is
Right.
true. Which is one of the reasons, like, I'm talking to you because
Yeah.
this is human connection as much as it can be
Hmm.
digitally, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I think that's a really important way to talk about, what you're doing, what you're passionate about, but it helps me maintain my sanity.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as long as you have one, two, 10, 20 people that can post on your behalf and do the PR people, then, or I guess your product is just that good, then people will find it. But let me just say for listeners or viewers out there, I do some stalking of my guests. Sometimes I'm lazy and I don't. It's happened. But I checked his reels. His work is quality. So if you sign on social media and you compare yourself, like they say comparison's the thief of joy, but when you're winning, it's like comparison makes me feel good. And like I feel like you could look at other people's reels, maybe even mine, and be like, I'm doing really well. So let me just put that out there because the way he speaks about himself, lady, it like I have to be your grandmother voice. Like the way he's speaking about him, it's like he does crappy work, but his work is good. So maybe you should compare yourself more.
That's
Anyway.
I appreciate that, and that's why I'm so happy to talk about this movie because it's not just my work; it's so many other people's work, and so I can
Mhm.
genuinely feel good about it. When it's just my work, it's a hard mountain for me to climb, just in myself. But when I look
Right,
at
right.
Brooker, I think, wow, like everything was, every actor, every performance just really gets me excited. So it's been a real joy to just be a part of the process.
The videos look great. It's always the people, not always, but it's so often the people that do good work that question themselves and don't want to be seen. And meanwhile, I opened my email yesterday and I'm sent a bunch of scenes of a movie I'm in. It's like the worst thing. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Oh
And
no.
I only watch a couple of minutes, and these people are telling me while we're shooting, "Oh, you're going to be famous. This is such going to be a big deal." Which, as you've probably known from being in the business for more than 10 years, I've been involved in since sixth grade. All the people, I'd say almost 100% of the people that say to you, "You're going to be famous. This is a big deal." It's usually the worst stuff ever. That's what I found.
And
Anyway.
it certainly can be. Yeah, I mean, I think you have to be careful of, it's hard for anyone to be of sober judgment about themselves. And sometimes it's very hard to be of, a good judgment of people that you care about, because,
Mhm.
see, I mean, even me, like that story that I've told before is we were on the cave set. My friend Faniel is the main actor. And we're like basically in this room. There's a smoke machine going. There's 20 people standing around. The director's calling out stuff for him to do. And you're watching with my naked eyes, and I'm like, oh no, this looks terrible. Like we've made a huge
Ah,
mistake. Then I get behind the screen and I see it through the screen, and I'm like, okay, if I drowned out all the noise and I just focus on that image, and I'm like, okay, I know stuff, I know what looks good, right? I've watched a
mhm.
lot of movies, and I'm like, this looks good, and that was kind of the first time where I was like, in the production, where I was like, okay, we're doing it, we're okay, it took down a lot of
Yeah.
stress.
Well, hopefully you could balance this super critical edge, which I might be the most critical person I know. I don't know. I'm nice about it. I don't know if people really realize that. But when it comes to myself, I'm very critical. And I feel like I don't think I've ever been surprised when I put out acting work, special effects work, even taught a workout class, which is creative. You're creating a format and all that. I know when I do good work and bad work. So, hopefully you could be a little more lenient because it sounds like you're doing some good work and not recognizing it. Well, on that note, you have to put your kids to bed. Could you just tell us any of your final thoughts and where we can find you? Social media, obviously not, but maybe you made it in the last 30 seconds before this interview. Websites, let us know.
Yeah, so you can track the progress of the movie at brookermovie.com and Brooker Movie on Instagram. Those are the two places that we're going to be disseminating. Really, the next big step is film festivals. So We're
Mhm.
we've submitted to dozens of film festivals. We're waiting to hear back. I'm, really holding out hope that starting in 2026, I'll be able to update people on different places all across the country where you can see Brooker. And then, I mean, really by mid next year, I think we'll be, I if we don't sell to any distributors, then I think, we'll go putting it up for rental route, which would be great. So probably by middle next year, the film should be one way or the other, be able to be seen by the masses. So that would be fantastic.
Nice. All right, well, keep in touch. Let me know what's going on. I want to hear about this progress. I'm all about before and after
Yeah,
transformations. And thanks
absolutely.
for being a guest on It Came from the Radio. And now back for more. It Came from the Radio with Mark Torres.